check in with Charlie Brooker, who's going to lead the revolution, I believe.
Oh, am I? Yes, I am. Yes, it starts now. No, not really. OK, this is the second part of my little squints at the election coverage. If you remember from the first film, it ended with Nick Clegg riding high in the polls. Let's see what happened next. As the papers went all out to convince voters that Clegg was some kind of baby-faced antichrist, David Cameron was doing his best to appeal to youths, sitting down for a startlingly informal chinwag with Dermot O'Leary on BBC Three.
You can understand why they're saying it's the same shit in a different suit.
Cambo also rocked up at a school with 1/4 of Take That, who proved that it doesn't matter how many aliens Robbie Williams thinks he's met or how much weight he puts on, Gary Barlow can shed more dignity more quickly with excruciating performances like this.
Today this could be the greatest day of our life.
Attention swiftly wandered to the greatest day of Sky's life, the second debate, which they were understandably keen to big up. Ace anchor lady Kay Burley claimed it would bring a whole new dimension to political discourse.
The fact that it's going to be in 3D as well means that we're going to be able to see every bead of sweat.
Come the night itself, the debate took place in glorious two-dimensional 3D. It was less clear who'd won this time, especially backstage where the political arguments were so fierce they could be heard from space.
Now you're shouting at him. Chris, you're doing what you did this morning on Radio 4.
Anyway, so far so blah, but something big was about to happen. Gordon Brown had been mic'd up for much of the campaign, all the better to capture scintillating moments as he met the public, like this.
What a wonderful day. Great weather, isn't it?
Thing is, this felt a bit like eavesdropping, something the news itself found rather uncomfortable on occasion.
Well, it's terribly unfair on us to just listen into conversations.
But one fateful day, the mic picked up a lively exchange betwixt Brown and a pensioner called Gillian Duffy.
But all these Eastern Europeans what are coming in, where are they flocking from?
Rather than telling her they were from Eastern flocking Europe, he got in his car with his mic on and had a thick-of-it style moan.
What did she say? Oh, everything. She's just a sort of bigoted woman.
By calling Gillian bigoted for saying something that had sounded slightly bigoted, PM had hit a nerve. Immigration is a taboo subject which the papers only dare discuss in hushed capitals tucked away on the front page of every edition. That's why back in Madland, Mrs. Duffy was quickly assailed by hordes of reporters flocking from the east, west, north and south. They didn't seem to want to discuss the deficit, which was what she'd largely been talking to Gordon about. Instead, they seemed far more concerned with filming her shocked reaction to being called names behind her back.
But he said, what a disaster. Who got me to talk to that woman? She's a bigot. Or words to that effect. And we want to know your response to that.
You're joking.
This, of course, was as close as the news gets to pulling off a Knowles gotcha, and it couldn't get enough. In fact, if you placed two TVs alongside each other, it meant for the first time in human history it was now possible to watch a 60-something widower from Rochdale being harassed twice at the same time live on air. A badgering that was briefly interrupted when a researcher from a third source appeared to ring her mobile.
Excuse me.
You're still live on television at the moment, but you can talk to two audiences at once if you like. Mrs. Duffy obviously taking a call. Perhaps somebody's seen her on television at the moment.
Mrs. Duffy? Is that someone calling you to let you know you're live on Sky News?
Meanwhile, Calamity Brown was being played the tape of his boo-boo on the Jeremy Vine show, and he reacted as though he was trying to crawl inside his own hand and die. Before long, he was hightailing it back to Rochdale to offer a personal apology. Meanwhile, the news waited outside, excitedly broadcasting footage of a white door worldwide.
This is playing big in the United States as well now, both on CNN and also on our sister station Fox News.
Eventually, the PM emerged. He spluttered a half-assed, wonky-smiled apology and piddled off. But the news media continued to hover around Duffy's door, a bit like the undead besieging the final survivor at the climax of a zombie movie. Amazingly, Sky even apologised live on air for what they were doing.
Mrs. Duffy herself, who I know is a Sky News viewer, so if you are watching Mrs. Duffy, on behalf of the people who've been camped outside of your house, we apologise.
All in all, a terrible day for Gordon Brown. But at least he got some good press out of it. What I don't understand in all of this is why Brown gets it in the neck for making some unguarded comments, yet Cameron is allowed to stand around in front of a load of people in Wakefield with a massive erection sticking out of his trousers live on Sky and nobody bats an eyelid. It all boiled down to the most surreal election ever, from the bizarre sight of Right Said Fred on Newsnight.
So, Right Said Fred, it's an honour, indeed.
To the downright horrifying Wizard of Oz tribute on the ostensibly serious political discussion show This Week, the whole thing didn't seem real. In fact, come to think of it, was it real?
Yes, idiot.
Oh, well, that was brilliant, wasn't it? And now, here's a selection of short satirical films all about capitalism.